We are in the Black Hollywood Live studios today with none other than the phenomenally talented producer, my guy Mars of 1500 or Nothing, for today's conversation series, Leaders of a New School. Tune in.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Our little bop. We need to make us a little intro bop. You feel me?
That's easy.
What's up, everybody? I'm your girl, Carmen, and I am extremely happy and feeling extremely privileged to have the one and only multi-talented, multifaceted, multi-platinum,
Yes, sir.
Grammy-nominated producer,
Come on.
my guy Mars in the building.
Yeah,
Welcome
yeah.
to Black Hollywood Live.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you being here, taking the time to come and talk to us.
Love.
I decided to start this conversation series because I'm noticing that there's a shift and a change happening. And I was born at a time where I got to see a little bit of what it was, and now I'm getting to transition into what's new. Right. And with that transition, I noticed that the OGs are taking their ranks at a certain place, and now there are new leaders that are emerging. Mm-hmm. There are new people, people that are taking the lead, and I consider you one of them.
Oh, thank
so,
you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I wanted to invite you in to tell your story and talk about, you know, the path that you took to success. Mm-hmm. The things that you're doing are absolutely impactful. You know, I pay attention to your Instagram, and I pay attention to the moves that you're making, and I'm inspired.
Thank
you. I watch the daily quotes. I'm inspired.
Yeah.
I watch your dedication to your hustle. I'm inspired. So I wanted you to come and just share that with the people who are looking up to you now.
Dope, for sure. Well, first, I appreciate that. Second, I guess like my path, I guess you could say, to success is like, you know, you reverse engineering. Like, so like, you know, once you do something for a certain period of time, you can just kind of look back and see what steps led you to what, you know what I mean? Like, okay, these first 10 years of my life, I was just in the studio making music, you know. I felt like, oh, that was just, you know, can you cuss on here?
Yeah.
And I felt like that was just like a bullshit period, you know what I'm saying? But then as you grow, it's like, okay, no, those times were defining me actually, you know, honing in and developing my craft.
Absolutely.
You know, and then once I was able to make beats, then I had to understand what a producer was.
Exactly.
Then get in the room with producers and people that didn't make beats so I could understand the element of that. And then, you know, you grow from there. Then you get in, you know, the room with the greatest musicians or people you look up to. And I just happened to be, you know, around Battle Cat and Terrace Martin and people that I, you know, looked up to their records. And, you know, obviously just sitting in a room and learning and soaking up information and knowing how to just shut up and just be a sponge is like very important. So I always say like the educational part of it and knowing like what your intent, what your purpose is like, you know, what's going to define you. And then from there, you'll know like what you're supposed to do.
Yes. That 2020 vision, they say is vision is 2020 in hindsight. Meaning like you go through things, you have no idea, why am I, you know, going through this up? Why am I going through this down?
Right.
What is this for? And then when you finally get to where you're going, it's like, I see what I learned there. I know I had to face that struggle. I know I had to be isolated at this time or make certain sacrifices at certain times. So I want to get into it. When you and I first met, I believe you had just got the Take You Down break. Chris Brown,
okay.
I think it was around like 2008 or something. And since then, and even before then, if I could just run these names down, you've worked with Chris Brown, of course, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Marsha Ambrosius, Jay-Z, T.I., Bobby Valentino, Mac 10, Tiger the Game, Kanye West, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
Man.
God is good, man.
Ain't God good? But I don't want to skip a beat. Most notoriously, man, my favorite, if I can have a favorite, Nipsey.
Oh, for sure.
Nipsey, my favorite, man. That Victory Lap album was like a hustler's Bible to me. It's like when you heard those verses, you knew that it was being spit by somebody who lived what they were talking.
For sure.
Because if you any true hustler, when they heard those words, it hit you in your heart because he was talking church. Like it was game.
Yeah, it resonates more when it's authentic, for sure.
Yes. And when it's honest, more than any everybody rapping about what they have. He was talking about what he did. And I think that's why it hit
as
home.
well as where he's going. Like it's where as well as like a blueprint. Not to cut you off, but to interject. Like like, it was a lot of stuff that he did, but like I guess you could say the music was very, very, very subtle compared to like what he was doing as a person. You know what I mean? Like it was dope that he, you know, impacted so many people through his music, but that was just a segue.
Yes.
You know, for people to actually tap into what he was doing and see how he was thinking, and you know, thinking like, oh, okay, if it's somebody that's, you know, from this certain section of a hood, a certain you know area, because it's hoods everywhere, all over the world. So, you know, it's people that can relate like to that mentality. Like, okay,
Absolutely.
I don't have to be so-called a product of my environment. I can really rise above, you know, my situation, and you know, still bring the people that I grew up with, the people that's willing to have that mentality and willing to change their thinking, bring those people, you know, up and make sure that everybody, you know, helps each other, iron sharpen iron. So
I want to get into it, but I don't want to skip any parts of your journey. So let's start at the beginning with you.
Okay.
Tell everybody who may not know where you from, born and raised.
I was born in Los Angeles and raised in Lancaster. So 92nd and Van Ness was the house that I remember, like, being a little boy, you know, running around. And all my family pretty much lived in there. My auntie, my dad. So my grandfather had a church. So I was always around music, organs, and, you know, instruments. I was always around that. And my dad would always throw concerts in the church. So he would bring, like, world-renowned gospel people like John P. Key and Thomas Whitfield, and, you know, people that he had relationships with, because my dad was a, you know, musician and artist as well.
So that's where your musical influence came from, pretty much the family and the church. For
sure. My dad and my mom sings as well.
Nice.
But my dad, like, wrote and had, like, an album and the whole
Really?
thing. So, yeah, so, and it was Lamar Records when he first,
That's
you know, did his album. But moving on, so I was always, like, growing up, you know, listening to music as well as church. That was always my foundation. So my dad started a church in Lancaster when I was, like, 9 or something like that. And I had to be the musician, you know, because
in church. So you played in church?
Yeah. So my dad, like, started a church, and, you know, it was like, okay, well, we don't have no musicians, so the family is gonna do the music. So my dad would sing, my mom would sing, you know.
What was your first instrument?
Drums.
The drums.
Yeah.
And would you just walk up to it and picked it up one day, or he taught you, like he schooled you?
I would always be around the drums, like, in my grandfather's church, like, from a baby. So like, when I was around maybe 1 or 2, my parents bought me, like, a play drum set, and then I had some real sticks from the church. Then by the time I got 3, I actually knew how to play. So they bought me a real drum set because I broke the fake one. And then from, like, I just posted a picture on Instagram. What's funny, I think it was like Throwback Thursday or Flashback Friday, of my first recording. And my dad, like, was like, hired all these musicians, Andrew Goucher, whoever, Ron Pearson, Warren Campbell, of course, who does Mary Mary, Jamie Gamble. So he had, like, all these dope musicians I looked up to, and he was like, oh yeah, you gonna play the drums. And I'm like, what? Like,
that's so dope.
I can't play with these people, like, you know what I'm saying?
But
so
you
I'm
did,
up there,
though.
like, trying to, like, you can't even see me over the cymbals and stuff, but, you know, I think that experience, as well as my dad in church allowing me to, you know, play on the organ for the first time.
Yes.
And I didn't know how to play it. It's like, oh, Sister Fanny brought us an organ. Lamar, come over here, let's play. And it's like, I don't know.
Right,
you know,
they
I'm
just
sweating.
threw you into it.
Yeah, so I think that was, like, a great start, because, you know, church is, you know, a very supportive place.
Yes.
You know, and it's easy for you to develop, you know, things like, you know what I'm saying, skills and stuff, like, or actually kind of just hone in on things that you may already have.
Yes.
You know, so
like,
everybody can't sing, everybody can't play, you know.
Right.
But, you know, there are some people that they feel like they probably can't sing. That
did you sing in church?
I didn't sing, like, in the choir, you know what I'm saying? But I sang, like like as a little boy, and when we did like little plays and
Right.
kid plays and stuff like that. But I definitely used to always sing for sure.
The choir used to be my favorite part of church. Like when that musical, the sermonic selection, and they used to get up there with them robes
A
on.
and B selection.
Listen.
Trust me, I know.
Listen, that was my favorite part of church. I would say that's my earliest musical influence. How I fell in love with music was definitely the church. How many instruments you play?
About like 4 or 5.
And you learned them all at church?
Pretty much, yeah. Actually,
That's
yes. Yep. I learned all of them in church.
Okay.
Well, I learned piano at my dad's apartment initially, but.
Now, did you think when you first got into music, did you think that you were going to be a musician? Like, did you think this was what you was going to do with your life? For sure.
Yeah.
Did you think you was going to be a gospel producer? Like, did you think you was going to make gospel music?
No, I just happened to do it.
You just happened to do it.
Yeah.
So how did you find the world of production? Because playing instruments is very different than being able to make a song.
Right.
So how did you fall into being able to make songs?
I think that was like, I was always a musician. So that was like, I guess, my anointing and I say my superpower sometimes. But
Superpower, that's dope.
yeah, but like, because everybody can't do it, and everybody can't do it like me. But so like the thing is, I think as you develop one thing and you get cool with doing it, it's like it's so many things. It's like a hairstylist. Like you might be dope at just the hot comb and knowing how to do ponytails, but then somebody come up with a crazy braid style. You're like, yo, I want to get into braiding. You know what I'm saying? It's it's parallel.
Right.
So
it was no one particular person that taught you how to set you down and taught you how to like run a beat machine or like track yourself.
Eventually, yes.
But you already had a hunger for it.
Yeah, that happened because of me just listening to, like, really honestly, it was Jay Dilla for sure. So like I would hear certain songs in high school. Yeah, like hip hop, soul, soulful music, which had gospel elements. So Tribe Called Quest, Find My Way was like the first song I heard where I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
And it's like, it's
Yes.
church chords, but then the bass is loud and then it's moving, like playing chord,
Yes.
So I'm like, and then the beat is dope. The lyrics, it's like a great song. It's a great production.
Yes.
So I'm like, what is, like, how did this happen? So back then, early, I didn't know. I was educating myself, like looking on the back of the records. Me and my cousin Swift, shout out Swift D, we would always look on the records like, oh, Jay Dilla did this. And then everything I liked, Erykah Badu, whatever, it was like, yo, Jay Dilla did this. Q-Tip, Jay Dilla did. I was like, yo, I'm about to tap into him. And then he was the one that was like very influential in like, finding out what a producer is. Then I would go back and listen to my favorite songs. Oh, Thomas Whitfield, and just kind of conjure, the two. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
So like, that's what led me to actually wanting to make people feel how I feel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I definitely do. How do you feel like that spiritual upbringing and growing up in the church affects you now? Like, what type of lessons do you carry, from just having that type of church grounding? Like, how does that help you today when you deal with stuff?
I mean, I feel like foundation is everything. So, knowing that, especially in the music business, is so much, because, it's new artists every day. And it's new people that get new money every day. So they do new business every day. So they do business different every day. So things are changing every single day. So you can't get accustomed to one way of doing things, you know what I mean? Unless you just set something up, like, this is the way I'm going to do it, and I'm not conforming to anything else. But for the most part, you have to deal with different, relationships and personalities. So having a strong background in the foundation and being, centered, being prayed up, understanding that things are going to always change, and understanding that things happen in God's timing is kind of like my peace, you know what I'm saying? In addition to smoking weed, you know what I'm saying? But
all right,
just,
the blessed herb.
but, just the foundation, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's very important, you know what I mean? Because if you don't make time for yourself, then...
I could tell you the type of person that, like, I could just tell you you're grounded just by the gems you drop every day. I look forward to your quotes, and I'm like, this is a person that likes to spread like a good word, like positive energy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. So
I mean, to be honest, it's really for me. You know, I'm not saying it's not for everybody. It's like I take lessons and I pass them on. So if I'm going through something, I'm vulnerable enough to say, all right, like this is a situation. This is a situation that I'm dealing with. So maybe somebody else is dealing with it. You know?
we all.
So
we all. I feel like we all go through the same things in different ways, and we all, you can't skip steps in life. So it helps to see somebody else going through. A lot of times when you minister to yourself, you automatically minister to other people.
Exactly.
Like, you'd be so surprised at how many people are going through what you're going through, just in
true.
a different form or from a different perspective. Going back to the music, like, did you notice, like, okay, when I think about what I was influenced by as a kid, I was listening to so much grown adult music, like Barry White, Secret. I think it was called Secret Garden, Karen White, Superwoman.
That's crazy. You was listening to all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it was probably like your parents.
Yeah,
or something like that.
but still, like that when Superwoman would come on by Karen White, I'd be like, oh, this is my song, or like all of this mature, grown music.
Yeah.
We had Luther Vandross, Anita Baker, Sweet Love, like all these were the things that would have influenced me as a child. Do you think that is a lack of that type of soul music in today's industry? You know what I mean? Like that, or those type of influences are changing the way music is being made these days?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, to be honest, it's just because of technology. You know, like technology has advanced. So, I mean, you have things that are not analog anymore, which is a totally different sound than digital. You know, being super clear and high def. You know, you had instruments that were heavier than you know what I mean? And it's like the wood and, certain things that were a part of the machines made them sound like they sound. So I think, technology as well as musicality is the difference. You know, it's not too many people that have bands or live music. You're talking about Barry White in the orchestra. You're talking about Anita Baker, that, the drums and the reverbs and the live music was her sound,
Yes.
So that it's not too much of that. It's more, synthetic sounds and,
Is that contributing to where we going with music, or is it taking away from it?
I wouldn't say it's, I would say both, for real. I mean, it contributes because the more we advance technology, the better we can become, because it's different ways of thinking of things. So, like I was using a freaking MPC and a, Roland whatever JP something back in the day, but I would have to track all the sounds out, and it would take like 2-3 hours to just track out a song. Then
So
you gotta mix it.
if it was something that the kids have nowadays that you wish you had back in the day, what would it be? Like, if I had this one piece of equipment, it would have changed the game for me. Like, what you think?
Back then?
Yeah, back then.
Man, if I had everything I have now, like
like all of it.
Yeah,
so
just reason. I mean, well, just a computer, just reason. The program reason, a controller, and a computer. That's all you need. Some speakers.
So is it important for producers to play instruments? Because I know it's a lot of people that play instruments that can't make songs. And it's a lot of producers that make hits that don't play instruments.
That's true.
Do you think it's important for?
I think it's important to always incorporate musicality. I would suggest that if that's your passion, then for sure learn it. But if you're not great at it and it's not your passion, then for sure find somebody that's great.
Okay.
And incorporate that into your production, because you're still a producer, so you can enlist people to be a part of your production. Okay. So I always stress musicality, because it's a lack of it, and I'm a musician, so I for sure want to hear more music, but it's just so many people gravitating to what they feel like is successful, and success is just you being paid to do what you love to do.
That's your definition of success, like reaching a level where...
Well, yeah, for sure. Like, once you made it, I can just sit back in my mansion and, you know what I'm saying, I'm watching Tom and Jerry, or I'm scoring my cartoons and doing certain things like that. It's like, I don't need to do anything no more because I'm getting paid off of everything I'm doing.
So
that's
there's
a level of success.
There's a level of like that you reach as a producer where you feel like I have made it, or is there, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, there are levels for sure. So yeah, I mean, getting
To
a
me,
placement.
you've made it.
Well, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying, levels. So yeah, I've made certain levels for sure, but I mean, there are a lot of things that I need to accomplish before I leave Earth for sure. So, you know, yeah, you have level 1 of, man, I want to get in a big studio, or level 2 of, man, I want to get a placement, or level 3 of, I want to meet this artist, or level 4, I want to put out my own music and have artists on it. And it's like, once I accomplished all those things, I was just like, okay, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I kind of like tricked myself into doing it. Shout out to David Banner, because that when I first was on tour with David Banner, Talib Kweli, and B.O.B., I was playing for him, and this is a very short story, but one night at the like end of the tour, he was like, yo, I got somebody, y'all break it down, I got my guy from the West Coast, he wanted to sing something for y'all. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, who is that? Like, and he like, Mars, sing something. And I'm just like,
no.
you know, like I
At
was
a
froze.
show? At a show?
A show. Like
Where was it? Was it like a House of Blues? Was it an
it was
arena?
it was a big theater with a balcony. I seen people at the top. It was like for
So
sure
what did
more
you
than 2,000 people.
sing?
It was like Suicide Doors or something, like some song like that he
Right.
had. But I was just Suicide Doors, like, you know, like playing, doing background regular stuff. And he was like, yo, solo. Like, sing something.
Crazy.
And everybody was looking, and I just had to close my eyes and sing. And
Crazy.
after that day, I was like, you know what? Like,
It
shout
was
out to you, David Banner, because, like, after that day, it's like, I can't go back from that. Now,
feel
all these
you.
people that heard me, like, I need to just put some music out or
Yo.
do something. So,
That's
I kind of, like,
crazy.
you know, shout out to him for making that happen. But after that, I kind of, like, tricked myself and, like, start hitting up everybody, like, yo, I'm working on this mixtape. Like, what's
Yes.
up? And then, you know, I'm hitting up Tweet, I'm hitting up Music Soul Child, Snoop, all these people back in the day.
And
they
what
like,
was the response?
They were just like, yeah, for sure, send me the music. And I'm like, I don't have
You're
no
like, I
music.
gotta do it
like,
now.
yeah, exactly. So I'm
That's
like, all right, I gotta do it. So
I love it.
yeah, that's how like I first started doing, you know, mixtapes and like started my own music. So
Yes.
shout out to David Banner.
Shout out to David Banner throwing you in there, just
Yeah,
like Pops
in the
used to
mix.
do.
Exactly.
You
That's what
know?
you gotta do. You gotta get out
Yes.
there, and you ain't gonna learn unless you
I
get
was
in those situations.
terrified the first time I sang. I'm talking about shaking, crying, anxiety on max.
Where was you at, church?
I was in school, and I used to sneak and sing in my house, in my closet, so nobody could hear me. And one day, my brother came in the crib, my god brother, he came in the house like, I know that wasn't you. It was like the Sister Act 2 days. I know that wasn't you. And I was like, it was. He was like, do it again. So I was like, I can't. I'm scared. So I was like, I'm going to face the wall. So I faced the wall and started singing. And he was like, I'm telling. We went to the same school. He was like, I'm telling. So our choir director at the time, Mr. Jones, made me sing in front of the school. And I'm telling you, I was terrified. Like, I did not want to do it.
The whole school?
I was shaking. The whole school, dog. I was shaking.
Was it fire?
Holding the
Did you
podium,
do something tight?
and it was fire.
See.
And when I heard the applause and the reaction, and I was like, wow, like changed me forever.
More
I couldn't
comfortable,
go
yeah.
back. I couldn't go back to not doing it. Then it was like I was hooked on it. So I know that feeling.
That's dope.
So look at you now, mixtapes later.
Yeah, for sure.
Videos.
Mixtapes, a couple projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the music making for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The early days, church influence, but then also hip hop influence.
For sure. Yeah.
How did your family take to that? You being a church musician?
So, yeah, so basically my dad wasn't having it.
He wasn't having it.
Like,
man.
Like, he would only let me listen to music he listened to.
Oh, okay.
Or if I like something, or if it was something that was out, as long as it was like no cussing, or I had to go to Walmart and go buy like the, you know, no cussing versions of stuff.
The clean version.
Yeah, but I still couldn't like. It's like I don't want to get a clean version of something I can't hear. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just that's out. So my dad would just never let me listen to, you know, like profanity and bad music. I understand, you know, now because it's like some of the songs that I'm hearing now. I'm like, what the like they were saying that like, like it was just peaches and cream. Like some of
Right.
these songs, I was like, bro, I was 13. Like,
I know. We was listening to some
like
wild
this
stuff.
is crazy. So I understand, but yeah, like to answer your question, he didn't let me listen to a lot of music. And my mom was the first person on Christmas. She bought me a Glenn Lewis CD.
Okay.
Angie Stone. She bought me like the, you know what I'm saying, like soul stuff.
Right.
But she
wasn't
knew I
all
was
the way
into
secular.
exactly.
Secular.
But she knew I was into soul music too. So, and Jay Dilla happened to produce on a lot of these records. So I was like, yo, like this is crazy. So I just tapped into something totally different. So, you know.
So what was the point where he was just like, all right, he gonna do this?
It was when he started realizing, like, you know, I would go to the church after school, and I would always ask him to go to church, and my dad would be like, why is he always on the... Of course it's practicing, but I figured out how to make beats on this little keyboard that they had. So I would make beats and run all the way to the back to the tape ministry, steal the little tapes. Steal the Antelope Valley Christian Outreach tape, put the blank in there, and press record, run all the way to the keyboard and press play. So that was like my first like beat tapes, and how I was like mixing and figuring out how to, you know, make beats. So that was like, you know,
it's hard to ignore that kind of passion in your child.
For sure,
Once you see they got that fire.
So it's like
in
when I'm bringing those tapes home, or my mom, one time she was playing the tape, she was like, "What is that?" I was like, "Oh, it's some beats I made at the church," and I was like 14, and she plays it, and she's like, "Mars, I like this," and she like, I'm hearing her go to church and go different places, like playing this song, like, "Oh, I like this song." I'm like, "This is crazy. It's no words, no nothing." So my dad started tapping in. He like, okay, he really, like, he got something, like he's onto it. So he started letting me be a part of what he's doing. He took me to the studio to record and do a remix on his project, even though I didn't know what I was doing. I was, like I said, I was 14, but those experiences were, you know, what made me who I am now, and gave me so much confidence and leverage, you know what I mean, to where I knew what I wanted to do. It was never like a plan B, or, you know, maybe
never a plan B.
Never, ever.
I love that.
For sure. You gotta
I love that.
If you know what
You've
you're supposed
owned
to do.
it from the beginning.
Yeah, you got to be assertive and walk in your purpose. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
So speaking of purpose, let's talk 1500 or nothing.
Okay.
How did this notorious? I mean, y'all came in the game, and y'all have like the umbrella of artists that you guys have worked with is just phenomenal. Like, y'all are notoriously successful. So many people look up to you guys, and y'all making hits. Like, it's undeniable. It's hard to look at what you guys do and deny it, period. How did this start?
Church.
Again, the same church? They went to your dad's church?
Nah, well, a few people, like Jonathan, which was, he's a member of 1500 Nothing, one of the first keyboard players. He actually linked up with me through my homeboy Nelson. My homeboy Nelson, like, people knew my dad, just like I said, he would preach, and people knew him from back in the day from just being musical and having relationships. So it was just, you know, basically Nelson linking us on the phone. We would talk on the phone, playing chords and stuff. Then Rance, I met Rance, and then Rance would come to Lancaster and pick me up from my parents' house. And we would go down and, you know, go to the studio, stuff like that. So eventually, after I moved out, I moved to North Hollywood, and I had a studio on Lancashire, and we were all playing at First AME. So that was kind of like us as a band playing together, and just didn't know that, you know, we were 1500.
So y'all came together as a band first?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how we got the name. So, like, very short. So playing at First AME, we're the band. Bobby Valentino's manager comes in. He's like, "Yo, y'all sound dope. Like, do y'all do anything outside of this? We want to get y'all for Bobby Valentino." We do the showcase. Yo, we love y'all. How much? Blah, blah, blah. Yo, 1500. All right, so do we make a check? Hey, 1500. All right, so what's the name of y'all band? Hey, listen, 1500 or nothing. You know what I'm saying?
And it stuck.
And that's how it was. And he was like, "Oh, 1500 or nothing. I like that name. Like, that's tight." Yeah. It was just like, all right, we're going to keep it that. So that's how 1500 or nothing.
So was it Lawrence, Brody, James, and yourself, all of you guys involved in 1500 or nothing from the beginning?
So as a band, it was myself, Bam, Rance, Jonathan, and then we had singers. We had Jay Black, singers and writers, Brittany Burrell, Alex, you know, and James. Okay. So, you know, there was a lot of other people, like, you know, that later caught on, like the Ivies and different people like that. But that was kind of like the core that we started with. It's videos is like on YouTube, like with Bobby Valentino's first performance and stuff like that. You could literally see. But that was how it started, and then me and Rance started producing under the name 1500 or Nothing. So I would go everywhere and say, "Yo, this 1500 Nothing." Rance would go everywhere and say 1500 Nothing, and we kind of like dominated the world by like just saying 1500 Nothing for the last however many years.
How does iron sharpen iron within that conglomerate of artists?
Well, I mean, it's easy when you don't have egos and when you have an understanding.
Yes.
You know, things can be very complex and very complicated when there's no communication.
Yes.
And when, you know, it's just shit going on. You know what I'm saying? It's like you start off like, okay, I want to accomplish these goals. And then you accomplish them, and then you may get a little comfortable, and then you're like, okay, cool, well, I'm cool with this. But, you know, for me, myself personally, I'm always trying to like progress, and I feel like individually we're always progressing to do something. So, you know, our progression always like, you know, challenges each other.
Yes.
You know, to progress. So I think that's a good problem to have. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't want to waste time and talk about what your first hit was and all that, because y'all got so many hits. We could be talking for days and days and days about y'all hits.
I mean,
but,
I wouldn't say that, but I would just say real quick, the first,
being humble.
The first staple thing was "Show Me What You Got," because
that
was the first song that, like, you know, we had with Jay-Z. Eventually went on tour, of course, blah blah blah. But that was the first song that like a band, you know, played from LA, of course, played on a record with Jay-Z, and you'll hear it in the club. Like, that was the first time I went to a club and heard a drum solo in the club.
So that was y'all.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now I'm putting two and two together from my memories of where I was at that time, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I remember that feel.
And that's
I remember
when my
when
dad
he
was
took
like,
on that live band feel.
Yeah, because it was a Budweiser commercial and all kind of stuff.
What's the bigger rush? What's the bigger rush? Being on stage, touring, or hearing a hit you know, playing all day on the radio?
It's different.
You can't compare the two?
It's two different feels. It's two different feels.
You be in your bag on that stage.
Yeah, on stage it's a different thing because I'm so vulnerable and I just let everything go, and I have so much shit that I deal with, like with the music industry and just shit. So that's where I'm like, I just release everything. Like, I don't care, you know. Of course, within the things that I'm supposed to do, you know. Like, I'm not just going crazy, but like, you know, I'm definitely into the music. And I only work with people that I like working with, you know. So I'm on stage with Snoop. You're gonna feel the songs better, the songs that you grew up high school listening to. Now you're on stage with this nigga and you got EPs and just your homeboy, he calling you, FaceTiming you to do something. You know what I mean? It's a different feeling. So of course I'm gonna be breaking my knees on stage with Snoop or a T.I. or Jay-Z or Faith Evans or Usher or any of those people I grew up listening to.
Yes, that's awesome.
Maya, you know, people
That's
I got
awesome.
relationships with.
Man, just that's a lot to take in. Like, when you think about that, you grew up listening to these people and now you see yourself on stage with them.
Yeah,
congratulations.
For sure. No, God is good, man.
Yeah.
And you know, death and life is in the power of the tongue. So, you know, you just got to speak what you want.
Yes.
You know.
Let's talk Nipsey.
Okay.
Let's talk Nipsey. Victory Lap in particular. I have to admit that I'm one of those people who knew who Nipsey Hussle was. I would see his impact via social media, and I'm like, wow, this guy is dope. He's on a Dr. Sebi, you know, documentary, and he's moving the way he speaks. I'm like, this guy is dope. But being from the East Coast, I hadn't really been influenced that much by his music because now I'm not gonna say he was regional, but he was independent. And he was making it happen on his own, you know, so I wasn't as privy being on the East Coast, but through his passing, rest in peace to the great Nip, I learned a lot about him. He seemed like a phenomenal person. What was it like on the personal side, having a, you know, interaction, working relationship with him?
Man, it was awesome. Like, you know, back then when we were making music, Nip was like a reference for a lot of the music we was making. You know, like, so for instance, if we're making a beat, like, yo, Nip will sound tight on this, like, you know, and then it gives you the energy to keep, you know, like, or do certain things that you wouldn't do if you was giving this beat to another artist, you know. So I think like that as well as the most important thing was like him being so strategic. You know, he was very like strategic. When you walk in, he's reading, he got stuff written down. He was so like OCD, he would be cleaning the studio, lighting candles before we smoke, and you know what I'm saying? Like he was just super like structured, you know?
What do you have any like affirmations or things that you took from his daily habits that help you today that you might be able to share with us? Like
For sure. Purpose. Yeah. Like knowing what your purpose is and like acting and not acting but walking in it. I was gonna say acting on that, but just walking in it.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, there are things now that he's gone, you can see the impact, and you see things that are still flourishing and things that will continue to flourish and continue to happen. But if we didn't know what the blueprint was, if he didn't leave certain things, if he wasn't operating in his purpose, then it would just be another person that, you know, we tragically lost, you know. But because we know what his vision is, we can carry it out. So
his independence was so impactful. Like he had his own clothing store, not just the store, but which was carried his own clothing line. Bought the block he hustled on, had his own dispensary with his own strain, had a STEM program for schools, was invested in some Vegas projects. You know, it's like he was the ultimate. To me, he is a legendary hustler.
Definitely
legendary.
For sure.
Like he is not playing about his example, the example that he set, and that's why I think that album hit home to me. I'm telling you, like, you can't be a true hustler and listen to that and not admit that Nip was on it. When y'all were making Victory Lap, did you know that it was going to have this type of impact?
No, because
just the music, aside from the life situations.
No,
like,
we didn't know. We didn't know it was going to have that impact. But we did do everything we could to make it as best as we could. So, you got to remember, we've been working on Victory Lap for over 7 years or something like that. So since he put out Crenshaw, or maybe even before that, that was like the introduction of, you know, actually making his album, you know. So, yeah, long story short, basically, it got to a point where we got in the energy and the vibe and everything was cool. And, you know, we had a studio together, so I was seeing him every day, like for the last 4 or 5 years until, you know, he passed, and he was actually working on his own studio. But yeah, he set a certain tone to where we would do songs and then redo the songs. Like we were competing against ourselves. So we would take the beats and, you know, be like, yo, this beat is dope, but now that the song is done, like let's do another beat to it and see which one is better. So we were literally like battling ourselves as if we were other producers to give the consumer the best product.
Yes.
You know, so
when you were playing those chords, when you were choosing those instruments and putting those tracks together, what was the feeling that you wanted people to get when you were making the music? Like,
different songs were different things. Like, question number 1 was definitely something my homeboy Mike, shout out Mike and Keys, he was like, yo, Mars, come on, it's gonna work. Let's go. Let's just do some West Coast shit. And I'm like, bro, I've been wanting to do it. Let's go. So we go downstairs, and it was like, all right, I want to really implement the DPG, like, gangster sound that I grew up with, like that Daz and Superfly sound, you know. So that's like what we did, and ended up sending it to Snoop. And Snoop FaceTimed me immediately, like, hey, cuz, like, this shit is hard, nigga. So, like, having, you know, being influenced by somebody and then regurgitating and re-implementing that, your version of that, and then presenting it back to the same people, you know, it's kind of weird, but it's dope, you know. So, yeah, it was a lot of different emotion, but I'm glad that it made the impact that it did.
It did, huge impact. Like, I happen to live on the west side of LA, a little north of, I guess, South Central, but like just a sneeze. I'm down there. And everywhere you go, it's just the murals of Nips. Like he was like the king. It's like if you
For
weren't
sure.
from there and you came there, you would think that he was the king of
Definitely
wherever we
is.
are.
Definitely
How
is
does
king of
it
LA.
feel knowing that you were? Because I've heard him pledge his allegiance to 1500 nothing. He's like, this is the nucleus of my sound, and I've always stuck with 1500 or nothing, which I think is important for artists to do. I think it's a lack of that, but it's important to find your producer and stick with it and stay loyal, because
sure.
then you create a thing.
Yeah.
You know, but how does it feel to know that you helped create this larger than life? You guys came together and created this larger than life energy that has now affected and impacted so many people. It's like you're a part of legacy
Man,
at this point.
It's like overwhelming. Of course, it feels awesome, but to not be able to experience some of the stuff is just kind of like it's crazy, and a lot of times I'll be still having moments, so I just try to keep the same energy with the people that I'm established. So like Mike and Keys for sure, were very influential, and those are the
Nice.
people I still have the studios at the same place where Nip was with. So we still, like, every day when I leave here, I'm going over there. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
So I can still have that energy.
Yes.
Keep building and keep progressing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
What if you could give any habits to anybody? Like if you could lend any of your habits, if you could say, all right, y'all, look, these are 3 things that I do, or these are a couple things that I do that keep me on top of my game. Can you share some of that with the people looking up to you?
okay, 3 things: educate, pray, and walk in your purpose.
Nice. Oh man, I'm mad. We on time. We
No,
on
it's all
time
good.
today. What else? Because there's a 1500 or nothing music school now that is after Church LA, which I thoroughly enjoy.
After
It's a
Church
good
LA is
time.
fire. Make sure you come out. It's every Sunday. Follow the page.
Anything else you have?
After Church LA. Follow me, My Guy Mars.
Yeah,
and
follow
you'll see
my
all
guy
stuff.
Mars, and we'll be looking forward to everything that you have coming. Thank you so much for
All good.
coming
West
in and
side.
talking to us and having this
West Coast.
conversation. I wish we had more time,
That's
but
all good.
until next time,
Love.
thank you very much.
Thank you, my gal. I
And thank you
appreciate
guys
you.
for tuning in.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.